Hello Riverbank, and how are you all today? I hope you are keeping safe and well. Last week we read chapter 3 of Along the Riverbank, and this week we are going to read chapter 4. Now this week we're going to go a little bit back in time to hear about the fearful forest. So without further ado, I shall begin to read chapter 4. Along the Riverbank. Chapter 4. The Fearful Forest. Over the riverbank, across the meadow, through the long grass, stands a forest. The fearful forest. Hundreds and hundreds of trees fill this forest. It's so dense with vines, bushes, moss hills and ditches. Ponds with frogs and toads. There are wildflowers growing with rocks and old fallen down trees. It looks quite beautiful in the day. Birds nest there, foxes and rabbits burrow there, but all is not what it seems. At night, as Big Joe said, it is a fearful place. It's called the Fearful Forest for a reason. Wolves live inside this forest. The wolves hunt in packs. This means they don't hunt on their own. There are lots of them. The wolves are scary animals that would eat little otters for dinner. The head wolf is called Zakonan. He is the most fierce wolf of them all. All wolves are thought to be extinct in Britain and have been for many years, but not in the fearful forest. It was Zakonan who fought with Big Joe many years ago, and from that day, the wolves were not allowed past the long grass. This is why the otters stay away from there. Zakonan is a British Columbian wolf. He is the biggest wolf in the pack, with black fur all over. He has a large snout, which is his nose, and massive jaws with razor-sharp teeth. He runs his pack of wolves through fear. They live in a wolf den in the centre of the forest, which burrows underground for miles. Many years ago, the wolves ran free up and down the riverbank. They caused mayhem wherever they went. All the otters and other animals were frightened of them, and rightfully so. Then, one day, Big Joe had had enough. He went to confront Zakonan in the fearful forest. He did not go alone though. He took Liam the Wise and Christine the cat with him. Like all bullies, which the Zakonian wolves are, they never fight alone. Joe, Christine and Liam stood at the face of the long grass.
Good,
said Joe.
this must be done.
Liam looked at Joe and said,
Up the riverbank, down the riverbank. The further you go, the meaner they get.
That is why these wolves need dealing with,
said Joe.
I shall arise and go now.
Said Liam. He took off into the air. Christine and Joe started walking through the forest while Liam the Wise flew ahead. Liam was a wise old owl who lived by the laws of the Book of Zuidenkronk and could muster powerful spells from within this book. He was an Irish barn owl from Donegal Island. He lived at Fort Dunree until he came to England. Shin Skillala, but that's another story, as Liam the Wise would say. He soared above the trees, keeping an eye from above. Liam loved to sing, and while he flew, he sang a little song.
All day and night I'm dreaming of the hills of Donegal, the heather on the hillside and the sunshine over all. Though it's westward I'll be going, across the Irish Sea, to see again those happy days that mean so much to me. Oh, the hills of Donegal.
The Welsh Rhondda-born cat could move fast, a natural predator with amazing hearing, super sharp sight and claws. She lived at Mardy Pit in the Rhondda Valley until it closed for good. Her owner one day never came back, so she came to England to find him. Big Joe stopped. He stood in a clearing, surrounded by trees, and he shouted,
Zakonan, come out here and face me. Your rule is about to end.
Suddenly, from all directions, the wolves slowly approached, their bodies low to the ground, with red eyes showing their teeth and snarling. Joe and Christine were surrounded. Christine crouched low, her standing on end, her tail high in the air, eyes dilated. She began to growl.
Simmer down. Easy now, Chris.
The wolves started to move in. A voice from the shadows shouted, "Stand down!" Joe slowly moved his head towards the voice, and out of the shadows appeared Zakonan.
My, if it isn't Big Joe and his vermin little friend,
He spat
old Feathers must be nearby.
as he looked above for Liam the Wise.
What do I owe this pleasure?
He said,
You and them damn wolves need to stay away from the long grass and riverbank.
Zakonan laughed.
And who's gonna make me? You and that ball of fur?
Christine the cat edged forward. Joe put out his hand.
Chris, this is not your fight. Stay back and watch my back.
Joe stepped forward.
Zakonan, we can resolve this peacefully. Me no want to do this.
We don't do peacefully,
Said Zakonan.
I challenge you, Big Joe. If I win, you must leave the riverbank for good. And if you win, I will never cross the fearful forest again,
Me done.
Said Big Joe. Suddenly, there was a rush of wind, and landed Liam the Wise.
The wolves need teaching a lesson.
Said Joe.
That's in Clark.
Liam said.
Go get him, Joe. I'll make sure no other wolves join in.
The wolves formed a circle around Joe and Zakonan. Chris the cat climbed the tree to a low branch,
I shall arise and go now.
said Liam, and flew up to the same branch and sat alongside Chris. Zakonan pounced at Joe, trying to bite him. Joe's massive paws grabbed Zakonan in mid-flight and threw him to the ground. As he landed, one of the wolves was creeping up on Joe from behind.
Oh, no, you don't.
Said Liam. He swooped down from the tree branch and with his claws he grabbed hold of the wolf on his back and lifted him off the ground, threw him into a nearby tree. As he flew past him, he said,
I used to be a wolf and I'm all right. No!
Zakonan got back to his feet. Joe clobbered him with a left and a right,
That's it, Joe, give it to him.
said Christine. Zakonan fought back and bit Joe on the arm. Joe winced with pain, but battled on. Zakonan went in for the kill and lunged for Joe's throat. Joe sidestepped and swung his huge arms around Zakonan's neck and started to squeeze. Zakonan couldn't breathe. Joe squeezed tighter and let go. Zakonan fell to the ground. He coughed and spluttered.
You should have finished me, Joe,
he said. Joe shook his head.
All life is precious, Zakonan. Even yours.
The wolves backed away. Christine and Liam came down from the tree. Joe stood and shouted,
From this day, no wolf shall cross the fearful forest.
Joe turned to walk away. Liam said.
And let that be a lesson to you.
He turned to Zakonan, who was lying on the ground, and said,
You lost, and now this is so. By the book of Zud Kronk, it is commanded.
He then said,
So Conan, put an egg in your shoe and beat it.
Christine, Joe and Liam laughed and headed back to the riverbank.
You need to get that arm looked at, you do,
said Christine.
And that's the end of chapter 4. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, we know a little bit more now about Joe and his fight with Zakonan, who is the leader of the wolves. And next week, we're going to find out a little bit more in chapter 5. Well, I hope you're all still washing your hands and staying safe, and I will see you all soon.